शलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने श्रीचैतन्य मनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णा चैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी श्रीराधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वंचाकल्पतरुभ्यस्य कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि श्री गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, गुरु परंपरा की जय, सद्गोस्वामी प्रभु की जय, ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायण नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। शृण्वतां स्वकथा कृष्ण पुण्य श्रवण कीर्तनम हृदयन्तस्तु अभद्राणि विदुनोति सुहृत्सतां नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी। सर्वशास्त्रादि पीयूष सर्ववैदिक सत्फल सर्वसिद्धांत रत्नाध्य सर्वलोकैक दृक्पद सर्वभागवत प्राण श्रीमद्भागवतो प्रभु कलिद्वंतोतिदादित्य श्री कृष्ण परिवर्तिता. The last line says Kali Dvantotidaditya Shri Krishna Parivartita. It basically says you are the sun. You have actually arisen to dispel the darkness in the age of Kali Yuga. And Sri Krishna, actually your Lord Sri Krishna, was actually Parivartita, come back, back among us. You have returned among us. Right? परमानंद पाथाय प्रेम वर्ष अक्षराय ते सर्वद सर्वसेवाय श्री कृष्णाय नमोस्तुते मद एक बंधु मद संगेन मद गुरुन मन महाधन मन निश्चारक मन भाग्य मद आनंद नमोस्तुते असाधु साधु तादाइन अति नीच ताकर हा नामुंचा कदाचिन मम प्रेम न हृत कंथयो स्फुरः। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। Okay. Thank you everyone for joining. Nice to see all of you. Possible you can turn on your video cameras. Okay. So let's get started. Okay, everyone ready? So today we are going to have a very interesting section. We are going to go into the technical details of creation, right? And we discussed a similar section in second canto, fifth chapter, but we are going to kind of revisit that. And also we'll point out what is the difference between the description of second canto, fifth chapter, and then third canto, fifth chapter. Okay, so where are we in Bhagavatam? Anyone wants to say what is the theme until this point? What have we discussed last session? So, what did we read? So, Vidura came to Maitreya And then what happened? Everyone think about it. Like we need to like live Bhagavatam. So when we are coming for a Sunday, we are already right there in the scene where this has actually taken place, and we know what's happened before, and then we are ready to go to the next step. So think about it. When Vidura, he actually came in front of Maitreya, what was his mood? What was he thinking? Anyone, please, and try to attempt that.
He,
Yeah, go
uh,
ahead.
he heard from Vidura that Maitreya was present when the conversation was
He
going on
heard from
between
Uddhav.
Uddhav, sorry,
Right.
Uddhav, that the Maitreya was present in the when Krishna was giving him,
Right.
and Uddhava told him that that is for me. So he was in the mood that okay, if I ask a question that is not highly, so let me start with slowly, from the basic principle.
Right.
And there are a couple of things that are there, like when you go to a spiritual master or something, you directly don't go to the highest topic, but you
Very
go
right.
from the basic.
Basic.
So that was his mood, and he was asking the questions, from just like Parikshit Maharaj, he was asking like, what is how this universe is created. Give me that knowledge that are like, that is the basic principles of.
Okay.
And when he actually comes to that point, he will reveal, if he's already, Krishna, whatever knowledge that he gave to Uddhava, or he mentions that Maitreya Muni mentions that the Krishna actually thought about you while in the conversation.
So
That
we'll
was
come to that
his
point.
almost.
Okay, 1 minute, bro, 1 minute. So just a pause. So, no, very nice. So thank you. So we read about the point that how Vidura, he actually, Uddhav actually told him that you should go take the instructions from Maitreya Rishi. He came to Maitreya Rishi, and then it is described that he immediately started asking questions. And then you mentioned rightly that he actually said, yes, I'm eager to know about that most confidential topics, the Paramam Stitim that actually Uddhav was referring to. But right now, let me start with the basics because Uddhav also made the point that Krishna spoke all these words to me, right? Though Maitreya was right there, he said he spoke to me. So he was thinking, did Maitreya Rishi I really absorb that knowledge, right? So in that was his also on his mind, thinking that, did he really absorb all those confidential knowledge? So it won't be good for me to start off with those, a question which is so deep. Let me start with the basic. And what was his basic question first? You mentioned something about the Leela, about his Purusha avatars. But before that, he asked this question that everyone in this world is engaged in fruitive activities to become happy, but they don't actually get happiness. So please tell us, what is the way in which one can live to become happy? Right? So that was the first question, right? That was a text two. How can one mitigate one's distress? We try so hard for happiness, but that is only frustration. So how can we really become happy? And then after that, he comes to the points that you mentioned. He asked about Purusha avatars. He says, give me that knowledge by which Krishna in my heart will speak to me. Right? Didn't you say that? So that is basically referring to devotional service. So he asks about devotional service, he asks about Purusha avatars, he asks about Leela avatars. And then after speaking all these questions, and he also asks about like the planetary systems and like who is the ruler for all these planetary systems? How do the living entities in different three modes of material nature, how do they get manifested? All this. Right? Now, what is the next section that we read? So Vidura asked all these questions, but then he makes a very important point. What is his main point after all these questions? What does he really want to hear? Go ahead, Sridhar.
Krishna Katha.
Krishna Katha.
Yes, so he actually makes a point that yes, I have heard Mahabharata so many times from Vyasadeva. Right, my father, I've heard Mahabharata, I've heard the lesser topics of the Vedas, but right now my interest is to hear only Krishna Katha. Right? So please speak about Krishna Katha, and then he gives some glories of hearing Krishna Katha. So who remembers the points? What is the glory of attending Sunday morning Bhagavatam class? Remember.
विरक्तिं हरेर अनुस्मृति निर्वत्स्य समस्त दुखासु.
Wonderful. So 4 points, right? 4 points. Thank you. So first is actually if one hears with Shraddha, right? It starts off with that. Sa Shraddha Dhanasya, with that faith, with that eagerness that yes, this knowledge is so important to me. This is actually what I'm meant to relish, right? So if we actually hear Srimad Bhagavatam with that kind of eagerness and that kind of knowledge, that kind of inquisitiveness, then what happens? Then four, you mentioned. So one is viraktir, right? Our detachment to everything which is unnecessary actually goes away. And and it's actually vivardhamana. It keeps increasing. As we are hearing proportionately, our detachment keeps increasing. And second is harer padanusmriti, right? What is that verse? Etavan Sankhya Yoga Bhyam. Yes, thank you. Janma Labha Parampumsham Ante Narayana Smriti. Right? Second canto, I'm bringing all the verses because you have to remember those verses and soon you have to recite Ante Narayana Smriti. Right? So he says, what does Sukdev Goswami tell Parikshit? There are all these different processes, whether Sankhya, Yoga, everything. Finally, it comes to the point, it is tested, Ante Narayana Smriti. Now, how will you get that Smriti? And here it is saying, by Bhagavatam, what do we get? Harer Padanu Smriti. Second benefit. Third benefit, Samasta Dukha. All our miseries, all our anxieties will go away. And then, fourth thing is Nirvrittasya. We will actually experience that transcendental bliss in our heart. So, four benefits of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. Right? Okay. Now, after saying this, then Maitreya says, yes, I asked so many questions, but but maybe you can start off with Purusha avatars, right? So he actually gives a hint because there's so many questions. So Maitreya Rishi is saying, okay, all these questions you want to hear only Krishna Katha. So who will, sorry, got distracted. So which topic to start off with? So Vidura is giving a hint, start off with Purusha avatars, right? So that's the first section we're going to discuss. And then after that, what happens? Maitreya Rishi is honoring Vidura. Okay, what are the qualities of Vidura Maitreya Rishi mentions? Think about it quickly. How would we glorify Vidura?
Badrinarayana Viyaja
Okay,
Ananya
so
Bhavena Sadhu.
one point. So you actually said one point is actually he is actually born from Vyasadeva himself, right? So such a great birth from Vyasadeva. Imagine literally incarnation of the Lord. He got the birth from that. Then second, go ahead. You're saying something else. Devin, tell me. You told one point, right?
Ananya Bhavena without any
Ananya
deviation.
Bhavena. Yes, so he was Adhoksha Atmaja and Ananya Bhavena. He actually says that your point that you just want to hear Krishna Katha is because you are actually always absorbed in the lotus feet of Krishna. You are Adhoksha Ja Atmanaha. Right? Your mind is always absorbed in Adhokshaja. So we discussed this word last time, Adhoksha in Krishna himself. Right? And what is any other qualities of Krishna? Oh, Vidura. Who is Vidura actually?
Sadhu.
Eternal
Sadhu, yeah.
associate.
Sadhu.
Sadhu.
Okay. And who is Vidura actually?
Yamraj.
Yamraj, right? Yamraj. And he actually makes a point that you are Yamraj himself, and he's playing such a confidential role in this entire material world. He's as good as the eternal associate of the Lord. So he's actually said, Vidura, you are actually an eternal associate of the Lord. So normally when we see these speaker-listener combinations, right? Normally there's glorification of the speaker and glorification of the listener. But now and then after the listener goes and he glorifies the speaker, he offers his obeisances and he says, you are so and so. But here what is happening? The speaker is glorifying the listener before speaking the knowledge. Right? And we have pointed out how Vidura is such an elevated devotee of the Lord. He's an eternal associate of the Lord, right? The speaker is actually glorifying the listener. Okay. So now we'll start with Purusha avatar. So basically the entire process of creation. So text 22 to text 38. Okay, so let's start text 22. So okay, Arundhati Mata, you want to do Sanskrit also? Start with 22.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Padapatsya भिन्न लोकेषु विष्णुरासीत्
Mata 22. Right?
आदिश्यत्.
Wait.
Text 22. Yeah.
Atate
Chapter 5.
Bhava Lika
Chapter 5.
Atate.
Okay. Yeah, we are reading in the daily reading. We are reading chapter 6. Prabhu. That's don't jump it there.
Okay.
Okay, sorry. Atate Bhagavallila Yogamāyorubrahmihitaha Vishvastityudbhava Budvantaratha Varnayam Yanupushpanupuvasaha.
Okay.
Translation.
Ataha.
I shall therefore.
Go ahead.
You want me to read word
Yeah.
by word, Prabhuji?
No, just
At-
translation.
Translation. I shall therefore describe to you the past tense by which the personality of Godhead extends his transcendental potency for the creation, maintenance, and dissolution of the cosmic world as they occur one after another. Thanks.
So basically, if you see a Sanskrit, ataha, therefore, right? So now after glorifying Vidura, then he's saying in 16, text 16, he's already asked, start with Purusha Avatar. So he's saying, ataha, therefore, unto you, what am I going to do? Bhagavad Leelaha, right? So it is Leela. He's going to talk about the Leela, but what kind of Leela, right? Bhagavad Leela. What kind of Leela? Yoga Maya, right? Yoga Maya. So the pastimes by which the personality of Godhead engages his own Maya, right? Engages his own Maya for what? For Vishwa, for the material world, Sthiti, Udbhava, and Anta. Sthiti he is what? Creation. Udbhava, Udbhava is creation. Sthiti he is maintenance, and Anta is dissolution. And I will describe this, how the Lord is performing his pastimes of engaging his Maya Shakti, right? Maya Shakti for the purpose of the creation, annihilation, and maintenance of this material world. And how will I do it? I will Varnayami, I will describe, but Anupurvashaha. So this Anupurvashaha has two meanings, right? One meaning of Anupurvashaha is that systematically I'm going to describe, right? So Prabhupada in word to word, he actually says systematically. Now Anu also means what? Like repeated, it happens again and again. So if you see in the translation, Prabhupada is using a different meaning, and he's saying how they occur one after another, right? So how you see, like Prabhupada, in word to word, he's giving one meaning. In translation, he's elaborating and giving a slightly different one meaning, So it's yeah, so wonderful. So systematically, and how the creation takes place one after another. Yeah, so let's proceed with the next verse. Okay. Maybe we can do the Sanskrit. Gopinath Sharma, would like to do Sanskrit today?
Yes, Guru. भगवानेक आसेदम् अग्र आत्मात्मना विभु आत्मेच्छानुगतव आत्मा नानामाति उपलक्षणा. The personality of Godhead, the master of all living entities, existed prior to the creation as one without a second. It is by his will only that creation is made possible, and again everything merges in him. This supreme self is symptomized by different names.
Now, before he goes into the details of Mahat Tattva, Pradhan, and how he's glancing, he's actually saying Bhagwan Eka Asedam. And this is similar to what our Bhagavatam Chatushloki, where it actually says Aham Evasam Evagre. Right? So what did Maitreya Rishi actually hear from Krishna when he was speaking to Uddhav? The Chatushloki Bhagavatam. right? We discussed that. He said, like, speak about the Chatushloki Bhagavatam, but also in addition to that, confidential topic. So he spoke that. So Maitreya Rishi actually heard the Chatushloki Bhagavatam from Krishna himself. So before he starts to explain the creation, he's actually saying the purpose of these Chatushloki Bhagavatam, right? What is the original purpose by which these Chatushloki Bhagavatam is actually given, right? Aham evasam evagre. So before the creation, who existed? Only the Lord. Aham Bhagwan eka asedam. He is one without a second. And he asa, right? Means he was actually present. Idam. Before this creation, it was only the Lord. Agre was actually only the Lord. And who is this Lord? Atman Atmanam. Right? Is actually described. Who is the Lord? He is actually, so Atma now. So Atma, like, okay. So normally when we say Atma now, okay. So let's take this meaning. So Atma actually referring to his own form. How was he present before the creation? In his original form, right? In his original form. And then Atmanam, we can take it with the next word, which is actually Vibhuhu. So instead of considering Atmanam, we'll actually break it up. Atma means in his original form. Atmana Vibhuhu. That means he is the master of all Atmas or all living entities. Right? He is the master of all living entities. So Atmanam Vibhuhu. Now another explanation here, which is actually given. So first explanation is okay, right? Atma and then Atmanam Vibhuhu. Right? Second explanation we can actually use if we consider Atma Atmanam. That means what? That he is actually the Paramatma in the heart of every living entity. He is Atma in all Atmas, right? So one way it's Paramatma. So it's actually referring to how it is the same personality, that original personality who is worshipped by yogis as Paramatma, right? And how do the Gyanis worship him? As Vibhu, as that great, the greatness. They just focus on the glories or the impersonal aspect, right? So it is the same personality, right? The original personality who is worshipped in different forms. And why is this another meaning? Because if you see towards the last, it says Nana Mati Upalakshanam. Different people view him as different ways, right? So which is a verse coming to your mind? Different people view him in different ways. Yogis are viewing him as Paramatma. Gyanis are viewing him as Brahman.
Jnanam,
Jnanam Avyayam. Right? Yeah, Brahmeti Paramatmeti Bhagwan iti Shabdayate. So it's the same. He's the same Atma. He's the same original. But different worshippers are addressing him in different ways. And hence it says Nana Mati Upalakshana. Different personalities address him in different ways. Right? Okay. Now, after that, next word, it says Atma Ichha. How did he create? Right? Everything. What is Ichha? Ichha Dvesha Samutvena. That's for us, right?
Desire.
Desire. It was just everything happened because of the desire of the Lord. Right? But we also say the Lord is fully independent, right? Fully blissful. So what is the desire of the Lord that actually, because of which the Lord is doing the creation? We'll come to it in the next verses, but we know this answer.
Desire to give us an opportunity.
Yes, desire to actually give all the living entities who are actually covered by Maya, covered by ignorance, by lust, give them a chance to actually come back to Krishna. So that's the desire. It's only because of Krishna's love for each one of us. He actually has the desire. Otherwise, Krishna does not. He is completely, he's Swarat, he's Aptakama, he's completely satisfied. But the only desire is, oh, these, my own parts and parcels, they are under the influence of ignorance. So I want them to come back, hence my desire. So it is only by that will or the desire of the Lord that this creation is actually taking place. Right? Nanamati, I talked about different vision, right? So Prabhupada is making a point that this Maitreya Rishi is starting off by giving the purpose of the 4 original verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam, right? So Chatushloki, right? Verses, 4 verses. And then Prabhupada, what is Prabhupada's mood always? Whenever there's an opportunity, what would Prabhupada do?
bring back bhakti, Krishna consciousness.
Okay.
Impersonalism.
Bhakti,
Impersonalism. Defeat impersonalism. So basically, he's making the point. Maitreya Rishi didn't hear from some Brahmi Jyoti or something. He heard from that original person, Krishna, standing right there. Krishna himself spoke the Chatushloki. So who can, and Prabhupada is actually making the point. He actually says, these Mayavadis, they actually use this aham evasam evagre. They give so many different meanings. And then Prabhupada said, and even they don't understand the meanings. They give so many meanings, but they also don't understand the meaning. So Prabhupada is saying, which no one but the interpreter can understand. They'll give one meaning, no one can understand. But that's the Mayavadi's misinterpretation, right? So before creation, only the personality of Godhead exists. And it particularly says, aham eka, right? One without a second. So at the time, was there the material energy? Was that the living entities? Were the Purusha avatars there? Yes or no?
They were all there in the dormant form,
Yeah.
right?
So that's the answer, right? It's not yes or no. Because if you say that they were not there, I mean, Jiva is eternal. How can it not be there, right? Even Maya, material energy, is eternal. So yes, they are there, right? But it is one without a second. So, but they are there, but they are not separate from Krishna. They are not, they are dormant right now. They are not manifested right now. There's no separate existence of that Lord, right? Okay. And then Prabhupada also says how the living entities, he is Eka, just like the sun. How many times have you heard this example? And we are like what? Molecules of the sun. The molecules of the sun can only exist when the sun rises. Like now it is still sun is not risen. But when the sun rises, then you see sunshine actually. And we are like the molecules of the sun. But right now it is like a cloudy day. So, the molecules of the sun are there. They are actually shining, glorious, like the sun, right? But right now they are covered by the cloud of Maya, right? So that is our position. So we are like these molecules, right? And the material existence was dormant, and that's the Lord's desire, hence he wanted to create, right? So also Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is using the word Sade Vasit, right? So if you see, even in Sanskrit, it says Asa. Asa means is always there, right? Asa was there. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is quoting another verse where it says, the Lord is known as Sade Vasit. He is always Asit. Is always present. The creation will come and go, but that original Lord is always present. Okay, next word. Okay, everyone, with me. So today is going to be more technical section. So please be awake and let's try to absorb, right? 24.
Sava,
I think we missed out.
Sava Esha Tada Drista, Na Pasya Drishamekarat, Mene Santam Vivat, Manam Sukta Shaktir Asuktadik. The Lord, the undisputed proprietor of everything, was the only seer. The cosmic manifestation was not present at that time, and thus he felt imperfect without his plenary and separated parts and parcels. The material energy was dormant, whereas the internal potency was manifest.
This is a very wonderful point that says, Saha, that Lord, Va Esha, at that time, Drishta. He is the only seer, right? So that undisputed proprietor was the only seer. He was the only Drishta. Right? And we'll see further that everything in this material energy, that whole process of creation, is just because of the glance of the Lord. Every aspect of creation, it is because the Lord is Drishta, he's seeing, right? He is the seer, and hence every aspect of creation is actually taking place. But at that time, he's the only seer, and this actually goes to the concept of, if you have to summarize, our philosophy, how Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur actually presented. What does he say? Krishna is the seer. We are always seen. And that's it. That's the whole philosophy. And what does it mean? That Krishna is the seer, we are always seen? That finally it is all. Krishna is the supreme enjoyer, and we are to be enjoyed by Krishna. We are not the seers. We are not the enjoyer. As soon as we say seer, that means what? We say, oh, this is mine. This is how I enjoy. No, we are not the seers. We are to be enjoyed by Krishna. So just in that one statement, that Krishna is a seer, right? And we are not the seers. He summarized our whole philosophy. That's it. That's how he does it. But here is making the point that at that time there was only this, right? Drishyam Ekarata, right? So he was the undistributed proprietor at the time, and he is the only seer. And actually, if everyone understands or realizes the point that Krishna is the only seer, then there is no material existence. Right? You just understand everything Krishna is seeing. Right? Even when we are chanting our rounds, when we are doing our arti, who is the seer? It's not that we are trying to see Krishna. We go in front of a temple, deities of Radha Golokananda, and what is our mood? Krishna, you're the seer. I have come to give you pleasure. So please engage me in your service. Right? So Krishna is the seer. We are always seen by Krishna. Right? So we are not the enjoyers. So, right. So he's the undisputed proprietor. He's the only seer. And at that time, na apasya drishyam. What happened? The only seer did not see the cosmic manifestation. Right? Apashat, he did not see the cosmic manifestation. And then he was thinking, mene, he actually thought, ashantam atmanam, not existent plenary manifestation. He said, like, yes, this entire material cosmic manifestation is not manifested, it's ashantam at this time, right? The supta shaktihi and asupta drika. He actually says 2 points. The material energy is unmanifested and the internal energy is manifested. Right? So what is this verse actually saying? That the Lord, he was the only, like in the previous verse, right? Aham evasam eva. Prior to the creation, it was the Lord, only Lord, in Aham, in his original form. And now he's the only seer. But then he saw that this material manifestation is not present. And then he was feeling that desire that I need to create this for the benefit of all the conditioned souls, right? And he saw that his material energy was dormant and his internal energy was manifested, right? And this is important because the internal energy, anyway, okay, we'll stop at this point. But I'll come to that because next verse we'll talk more about this internal, external energy. But the Shupta Shakti, right, unmanifested material energy, and Asupta Drika, his internal energy, is manifested. Right. So Prabhupada in the purport makes a point, Lord is the supreme seer, right? Because only by his glance, this entire cosmic manifestation is actually being manifested. And we'll see later on, every verse, this point is made. The transformation from here to here, glance of the Lord. Here to here, glance of the Lord. Everywhere is only by the glance of the Lord. And Prabhupada makes this point. From Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he actually said, it's like a husband. If the wife is not there, he's feeling lonely without that husband. Oh, sorry. The husband is feeling lonely without the wife if the wife is not present. Right? So similarly, Krishna has so many Lakshmis, so many energies, but he's actually thinking of this energy, the external energy, the Maya. And he was thinking that yes, and Prabhupada makes the point that sometimes the husband may awaken the wife from the sleeping state for enjoyment. So Maya, it is there, but it is dormant. But the Lord is actually thinking from the perspective of Maya that she wants to enjoy with me, right? Hence, I should wake her up. And at the time, he actually is thinking of waking up the Maya Shakti who is actually dormant. So hence, it actually uses the word Supta. Supta can also refer to what? Sleeping, right? So who is Supta? The Shakti, the material energy, is sleeping, right? So, right. Therefore, the Lord was feeling insufficient, just like a husband is feeling lonely in the absence of his wife. Okay, so Lord wanted to create the cosmic manifestation. Why? To give a chance for each one of us to actually correct our mistake and go back home, back to God. So the only purpose of the material creation is what? RRA, right? Reform our rebellious attitude. Right? Reform our rebellious attitude. Okay, now towards the end of the purport, Prabhupada makes this wonderful point. He says, the Lord, he likes every living entity. Like Lord, he loves each one of us, right? And hence, okay. So here Prabhupada is making the point. He says, the Lord likes every part and parcel of his different potencies to take part in the blissful rasa, because participation with the Lord in his eternal rasa leela is the highest living condition, the perfect in spiritual bliss and eternal knowledge. So why is Lord doing the creation? One way, yes, RRA, reform our rebellious attitude. But to what? Reform our attitude to what? To actually gain entrance into the Rasa Leela. See, this is Prabhupada's mood, you know. It's not just like, okay, you can become an associate of the Lord in Vaikuntha. Prabhupada is giving us the essence of the Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy. What is our essence? To finally enter into the Ras Leela of Krishna, which even Lakshmiji could not enter. Like to come that's perfection. And Prabhupada is saying that is our goal, to enter the Rasa Leela. Right? And the same Rasa Leela is manifested 500 years before as what? As Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan movement. So what happened every night in Srivas Thakur's house is actually that manifestation of Ras Leela in the form of Nam Sankirtan. Right? So by chanting this Hare Krishna Mahamantra, we are actually preparing ourselves to enter the Ras Leela of Krishna. Imagine, what are we? Conditioned jivas, so fallen, all lust, anger, greed. Our heart is overflowing with all these things. And for us, insignificant, unqualified jivas, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come and giving us that highest entrance into Ras Leela, which even Lakshmi ji is aspiring to. And hence, what does Rupa Goswami say? Namo Mahavadanyaya. Who can be more merciful than Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is giving the most highest to the most unqualified? Right? So that's how Prabhupada's mood. So Lord wants everyone to enter into the Ras Leela, right? So hence he came as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Okay, so this verse is okay. So the Lord actually was feeling, oh, Maya Shakti, she's also one of my consorts. So he was feeling insufficient, that even she wants to enjoy it. So I should need to engage her. Okay, 25. Okay, Divin, we missed you, sorry. You can go ahead.
No, thank you, bro. Text 25. Sava etasya samadrishtuhu shakti sadasat atmika maya nama mahabhaga yeyetyam nirmame vibhu. Translation. The Lord is the seer, and the external energy, which is seen, works as both cause and effect in the cosmic manifestation. O greatly fortunate Vidura, this external energy is known as Maya or illusion, and through her agency only is the entire material manifestation made possible.
Why is Maitreya Rishi calling Vidura Mahabhaga in this verse? Anyone can give any idea? It's not that in the translation of purport.
He's a Yamadharma Raja, and he's
Yeah.
one of the Mahajanas.
Yes. So all those qualities we described, but particularly why in this verse he's using the word Mahabhaga? What is this verse talking about? Okay, so think about this. So I'll describe the verse and keep this point in mind. Okay, so here it says Saha, so that external energy, right? Samdrishtuhu, right? So Samdrishtuhu means the perfect seer. So the Lord, who is the perfect seer, right? He is actually seeing what? This external energy. Right? So in the last verse, he said like the Lord is feeling lonely because his wife is not engaged. So he actually glanced over the external energy. So how does Maya enjoy with the Lord? From a distance. Right? Maya does not directly engage, but from a distance by receiving the glance of the Lord, then she actually enjoys. And what is the glance actually doing? We read this, right? What is the glance carrying? the
It
material.
impregnates.
Huh? Sorry.
It impregnates, right?
Impregnates, right? So if you see that enjoyment of the husband-wife example, impregnation, so similarly that is happening at a glance. So here it says, Sam drishtu, the Lord as a perfect seer, right? He actually looked at the external energy, and this external energy, Shakti, is Sat Asat Atmika, is both the cause and the effect.
Yeah, right.
So what does this mean? That okay, continuing further, Maya Nama. What is the name of this energy? What is the name of this energy? Maya, right? So this external energy is known as Maya, and she is both the cause and the effect. And what does that mean? So in Chaitanya Charitamrita we read, right? So material energy is both the material cause and the efficient cause. And the best way to understand this is the example of a mother, right? So mother is not only providing the ingredients for the development of the child in the womb, but finally it is she that gives birth to the child. So when you talk to the material cause, that is basically all the ingredients coming from Maya. And efficient cause is like the child taking birth, right? So both these are actually by Maya energy. Material cause, efficient cause. But can a woman actually do this entire thing without the husband? That's no question. So everything happens, starts off with the glance of the husband or glance of Vishnu. Right? And then Prabhupada in the purport also, he makes a point. Okay, so it says Maya Nama, called by the name Maya, and Yaya Idam Nirmame is by which this Nirman or this material world is actually constructed. Right? This is through this Maya Shakti that the material world is manifested. Now, Prabhupada in this purport also makes a point. As the individual body, the consciousness is the source of all the energies. The supreme consciousness of the Lord is the source of all the energies. So what is the example? How do I know this finger is actually my finger or is connected with me? Right? Like if someone comes and presses or hits this finger, I feel pain, right? But how do I know this is my finger? Because the consciousness, right, on the soul is actually flowing all through the body. It is a consciousness from spirit soul is all through the body, and hence someone hits this and I feel pain, right? Just because of consciousness. Similarly, it is the Lord's consciousness which is actually pervading all this material manifestation, right? So just like our consciousness is pervading our material body, it is the Lord's consciousness which is a source of all the energies in the material nature. So it is the Lord's energies which are all pervasive in this material nature. Right? And hence in Bhagavad Gita, we see again, Maya tatam idam sarvam, Jagat avyakta murtina. Right? 9th chapter, text 4 and 5. It is I am manifested everywhere in this material world. Right? But yet, I am separate. I am independent. Right? So that is 4 and 5. Right? And also Prabhupada quotes Maya dakshena prakriti suyate charasharam. Right? So what is this verse? Maya adhyakshena prakriti. What is the translation for this first line? Maya adhyakshena prakriti.
I am the controller of the Prakriti.
Beyond that, yes, that is correct. Why is it related in this verse? Adhyakshena means the Lord is glancing over. He is actually impregnating Maya, right? So Maya Adhyakshena, it is the Lord who is actually impregnating. And that's why, so if you see Prabhupada's reference, it is yes, the Lord is certainly the controller of Maya. But he's particularly quoting this verse because this verse, the Bhagavatam verse, is also making the point that how the Lord glanced over, and here it is in Maya Adhyakshena. It is actually the Lord who is actually glancing over Maya to make this entire material world. Suyate sa charataram, right? Hetu nanena kaunte jagat vipari vartate. Jagat is actually manifested because of the Lord's glance. Right? Okay. Okay. Did you answer can anyone answer the question? Did you get it? Why is Maitreya Rishi calling Vidura Mahabhaga? Because the entire manifestation is under the influence of Maya, except, oh, Vidura, you are so fortunate, you are actually beyond the influence of Maya. Mahabhaga, you are so fortunate, Vidura, that all living entities are under this influence of Maya, but you are so fortunate, you are an eternal, you are Mahabhaga. Who else, like how many living entities in the entire world can be Mahabhaga above the influence of Maya? But Vidura is, and hence Maitreya Rishi is saying, oh, most fortunate one. See, like all these, like, when you go into the depth of study, it's like, wow, such a nice point. Why in this verse he's using Mahabharata? You realize it's so beautiful. Okay, 26. Everyone with me? We're good? Okay, please. 26. Who's next? Please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Kala vrittayatu mayayam gunamayam adokshajaha purushenatma bhutena viryam adhatta viryavan. Translation: the supreme living being in his future as the transcendental Purusha incarnation, who is the Lord's plenary expansion, impregnates the material nature of three modes, and thus, by the influence of eternal time, the living entities appear. Hare Krishna.
Okay. So we talked about the glance. The Lord is glanced over the Maya Shakti. But how does the manifestation actually happen? What is the most important element for the manifestation to actually take place? First is the glance of the Lord. Without the glance, nothing can happen. But if there is no Kala, then there is not going to be any transformation. So the verse starts with Kala, by eternal time, and Vritya, only by the influence of eternal time is the material manifestation happening, right? So glance of the Lord plus the eternal time. So these two aspects throughout the verses that we are going to read is going to come. Everything is possible. The Lord's glance plus the time energy acting on Maya. Lord's glance plus time energy acting on Maya. So everyone, we'll come to this again and again. Lord's glance plus eternal time acting on Maya, right? Okay. So Kala Vritya to Mayayam on the material energy. So, right. And then Gunamayam, right? In qualities of modes of material nature. Adhokshaja. So we'll come to Gunamayam in a minute. But before that, Adhokshaja Purushena. Right. So who is this referring to? Adhokshaja. We referred to Adhokshaja last time as one who is beyond Akshaja, beyond the perception of our senses, or beyond to Jha, right? Who cannot be described by words. Adhokshaja. Now, if you see Adhokshaja Purushena, so here he is actually referring to the transcendental Purusha, the original personality. Like how Aham Eva Sam Evagre. He's not referring to the first Karundakshay Vishnu. He's talking about the source of Karundakshay Vishnu, because after that it says what? Atma Bhutena. That Purusha's Atma Bhutena. Right? How Adi Lila, 5th chapter, makes the point of what? It is the Lord whose first expansion is Karunadakshay Vishnu. So here when it actually says Adhokshaja Purushena Atma Bhutena, the first expansion of that Lord. So which is the Lord being referred to here? The original Supreme Personality of God, right? Who is the source of Karundakshay Vishnu, right? So here it says Purushena, right? Atma Bhutena. So plenary expansion, that is Karundakshay Vishnu. And what does he do? Viryam Adata Viryavan. He impregnates the Maya with what? With the living entities, right? And why is he called Viryavan, the supreme living being? So in this material world, right, when the male impregnates a female in human species, it will give birth to one living entity or maybe two living entities sometimes, right? You get twins or sometimes three, but very rare, right? But mostly it is one, right? So mostly one. And then maybe in some other species, it could be like maybe like pigs, they say it is like maybe you get birth to 9 or something. I've heard like that. So it could be more, right? But why is the Lord called Viryavan? the supreme living being? Because with that one glance, innumerable living entities are impregnated into Maya. How many living entities are there? Innumerable. One cannot even count. That is the power of the potency of the Lord. That with his one glance, he's impregnating innumerable living entities into this material nature. Right? So that is the word Biryavan. Right? And then after the Lord impregnates, and then when Kala is actually happening, what happens to Pradhan? So we discussed this. Everyone should remember, this is our favorite section of Bhagavatam, right? Discussing about the material creation. Where we talk of Pradhan and Mahat Tattva, right? So what is the difference between Pradhan and Mahat Tattva? So in Pradhan, the modes are inactive, right? But as soon as there is the glance of the Lord, plus what? Eternal time on Maya, then that Pradhan, it actually gets manifested into Mahat Tattva, where the Gunamai, three modes of material nature, are present. Right? So in Pradhan, it is sum total of everything, but the modes are inactive. But by the influence of time, then the modes actually get activated. And as soon as that happens, that is Mahat Tattva. Right? Okay. So, and then Prabhupada in this purport makes a point. How does the Lord impregnate? Well, in conditional life, then you have organs for impregnation. But the Lord, with his eyes, he can eat. Right? With his eyes, he can do everything. And which is a verse from Brahma Samhita where it says, with every limb, he can actually do all the functions. Right? Which is it?
Pashyanti Vanti Kalayanti Jaganti.
Angani yasya sakalayani vanti pashyanti panti kalayanti chiram jaganti. Right? So by every organ or every part of the Lord, he can do all the functions. So just by his glance, he is actually impregnating all the living entities. Okay? And then Prabhupada here makes the point that this is a mystery of generation, that how the living entities are actually created. And then by his glance, it's not like the conception of sex, in this living entity. Just by his eyes, he's doing it. And then he's actually saying, what does this point actually tell us? Yes, that is material energy, but it is a Lord who's impregnating the material energy with the jivas. So where are the jivas coming from? The Lord. Does the Lord, jiva, and the material energy as such, are they connected together? Are they one way of the same tattva? Actually, the point that Prabhupada is making, that because this is coming from the Lord, so the jivas, they belong to the Lord or to Maya? To the Lord, right? So actually, we are different from this material energy. And hence, the scientists claim that, yes, we are going to create life. Actually, during Prabhupada's time, this was like in the world of science, that was like the main thing, where the scientists were saying, very soon we will be able to create life in the laboratories. So that was during the Prabhupada's time, 70s. And what did Prabhupada say? Yeah, very soon. That very soon is just like a post-dated check. You have a check in your hand, but the date is from next year. What use is that check? Similarly, your claim, what use is your life? You're saying in the future you will be able to do it. Do it right now and show us. But Prabhupada is making a point, it will never happen because Maya is separate and it is a Lord who's impregnating the jiva. So it's never from material energy you can create jiva. It's not possible. You cannot create life from matter. And hence Prabhupada's book is called what? Life comes from life. Life never can come from matter. Right? Just this point. So simple, so clear, right? But how much the scientists are spending the time to actually say, no, we will do this gene technology and create this and we will make life, we'll create life. No, it's not possible. Right? It's not possible. Life can never come from matter. Right? Okay. Right. So a few other points here. This is from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. He says that Bhagwan, who is the Lord of Maha Vaikuntha. Right. So we said that Purushena here refers to the source of Karanodakshaya Vishnu. And who is that? So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is saying that is actually, because if you see how does it go? Krishna, Balaram, Chaturvyuha, then that Adi Shankarshan from the Chaturvyuha, from him comes Narayan, from Narayan, second Chaturvyuha, from that Sankarshan, then Karanodakshaya Vishnu, right? So he is actually referring that the source of that Karanodakshaya Vishnu is actually the Lord of Mahavaikuntha. That's how he's the source of the first Purusha. And then he actually makes the point that when we say the Kala, so we already talked about that, it is only by the Kala that everything is happening. But when does the Kala actually start? And he actually makes the point, it is the time when the Lord actually, the inhalation and exhalation of the Lord. That's the time when so as soon as the Lord exhales, all these material universes, they get manifested, but that's the time when time element actually enters. Beyond that, there is no time. So it is the inhalation and exhalation that is actually defining. So that initial moment of inhalation or exhalation, initial moment of exhalation is when the action of time begins. And then he actually makes a point. When the Lord glances over and impregnates the material energy, what is he impregnating? That jiva is actually a semblance of consciousness. That means what? When we say we are part and parcel of Krishna, what does that mean? We have the same consciousness of Krishna, right? Satchidananda, we are also Satchidananda. So when Lord is impregnating, he's actually giving a semblance of consciousness or a part of that consciousness into the living entity. Right? And Maya is enjoyed from a distance by his glance, right? So, and then Bhagavad Gita, Mama Yonir Mahad Brahma Tasmin Garbam Dadamyaham. Bhagavad Gita 14.3. What does it say? Tasmin Garba. Garba means what? The womb, right? So in the womb, the living entities are actually given. So that is Maya, is actually in the Maya, is impregnating, right? So when the jiva is actually, though he's separate from Maya, when he's actually impregnated into Maya, he becomes dependent on Maya Shakti. Right? Because we are impregnated into Maya, so we become dependent on the Maya Shakti. We are right now under the influence of Maya, right? And we are trying to get out. And Maya is actually saying, unless you're fully ready, I'm not going to leave you. I was hearing on Prabhupada lecture, and he started out the lecture by saying, and I heard that, I was like, oh. He said, even if you have the slightest material desire, then Maya is so kind, she will give you another body to fulfill that desire. I said, that's it. How can we come to a state where we have not even the slightest material desire? How far is that state? Just I heard that's the first sentence of the Prabhupada's lecture. I was thinking like, wow, the goal is so far. Like so many gross material desires are there in my heart. What to talk of coming to a stage where there's not the slightest material desire? No. I was thinking like, wow, we are completely under Maya's influence right now. But, we have hope. Last class we discussed this point. Hopelessness from our side, hopefulness from Krishna's side. Hopefulness from Prabhupada's side for us. If someone tells you, even if you have slightest material desire, no going back to it's like, no chance for us. So hopelessness from us. But we have hope that Srila Prabhupada will somehow, 70%, he'll actually come back to God. We have hope on Srila Prabhupada. Okay, is that the question? We are done with this verse. We'll move on to 27.
Yes, Prabhu. So you said that the glance when the Lord starts breathing is the kala, right? The first exhalation. Kala starts. But at that time, Pradhan is already there. I mean, Pradhan is always there, right? So,
No, but Pradhan is
so
actually
then,
manifested. I mean that it is dormant at the time. When the Lord is
yeah. So
breathing, then the Pradhan is actually manifested, like sum total of all material elements. And then
right.
because of the influence of time, then the Pradhan, the modes actually.
That's Mahatattva.
Mahatattva.
Right, Pradhan becomes Mahatattva.
Yeah.
So, but then the Kala is already present at the same when Pradhan is taking birth as such, So, like, is it the Lord's desire that this Kala now acts on Pradhan so that it becomes
I mean,
Mahatattva?
yes. Otherwise, how would
Right.
the creation take place? Yes.
Correct. Otherwise, it will be a blob, inactive blob,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
Pradhan.
a simultaneous,
the
like
Lord's
as the
desire is
Pradhan is manifested, then the time is actually present through that exhalation, and then it starts, the whole process starts.
I just want to confirm your when you just said Prabhu about this Prabhupada's how Prabhupada's glory is. Yesterday when I was standing in front of Panchatattva, I was looking and saying that Mahaprabhu said, until and unless is 1 Lakpati, I don't accept anything.
Yeah.
Lakpati has 1 lakh names. We don't chant 1 lakh names. I was standing in front of Panchatattva, said, I have no hopes. You will never eat from me. And at that time, one flower fell from Mahaprabhu's lotus, garland, and rolled down and came stopped right in front of Prabhupada. So,
Yeah.
it is a confirmation that
Yes.
keep serving Prabhupada.
I mean, Prabhupada is our hope, otherwise, like, without Prabhupada, there is no chance for us. Really, there's no chance. It's only because of Prabhupada's special mercy on each one of us that.
It's like he's practically lying every day to Nitai on Mahaprabhu that, yeah, these people are chanting 64 rounds, please accept.
Yeah. I mean, the verse is there, and a little slight deviation from the verses, but it's good to make this point that 11th canto, this verse is there where, as I said, when the acharyas come, they leave the boat on the side. Like, there's a boat to cross over this material ocean, but they leave the boat on this side. And what does that mean? They give a process. And when these acharyas give a process, Krishna says, because my devotee, my dear devotee has given this 16 round, proper 16 round, okay, I will accept it. The Lord accepts that. And, so Prabhupada has given us a process, 16 rounds every day, serving his mission, being sincere. We have hope. By that way, we can actually go home, go back to him. Right? Okay. Okay, so are we ready? More technical? I mean, it's
This glance you were talking about, also Shambhu is referred there as one of the Shambhu is also mentioned as a glance.
Yes. So that point is, the point of a Shambhu, where does Shambhu actually manifest? Because the Lord does not directly unite with his external energy, right? So the glance of the Lord, which is actually carried by Rama Devi, the consort of the Lord, when she carries the glance and when she actually giving it to her shadow, who is who? Durga, right? Durga or Matilda. When she is giving that glance to her shadow, then at the time the glance becomes Shambhu. So it is Shambhu uniting with Durga. I mean, that's the whole concept. Like, people don't understand when they worship Shiva Linga. I mean, if people really understand Shiva Linga, they'll be like, why are we worshipping, Shiva Linga? But that's the whole thing, because it is this Shambhu through which all living entities are actually, manifested. So they are actually one way in this material world, the father and mother of all of us, because this through Shambhu, the living entities come into the shelter of Maya. But our original is Krishna himself.
Prabhu, so when the Lord breathes out, he breathes out the globes, right? So they are empty at this point, right? And like,
I mean, I won't say empty, because they have all the material ingredients, but dormant. And everything is dormant. It's like, but it is there. I mean, it's not like vacuum. I mean, that has to be something, right? I mean, like, it's just, but it's just like a dormant, everything together. But then,
so he's glancing his individual globes for like I
I mean, that's
like,
that's little like, I mean, that's we can understand, like, is he glancing at every globe? I've never read that. So it's basically his glance. And then like, we try to, that's the point. We try to like pinpoint and we want to say like, okay, this is this and this glance goes here. I mean, these are things that are like, actually, what are we discussing? Something that is so beyond us that the Srimad Bhagavatam is revealing to us. So we accept the knowledge from the Bhagavatam, and as we progress in our bhakti, as Bhagavatam is revealing to us more and more this knowledge, the more and more we'll get a realization, right? So technical aspects, yes, we'll get the realization, but more realization. Like, what is the real, point that from this entire creation? What is the point that would, what do I say, that brings out that mood of bhakti from this entire, creation and everything? What is the point that brings out that mood of bhakti? Like, you could think of some points, but the point that come to, anyone wants to say something?
Lord is very compassionate.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, that mercy of the Lord, that how the Lord is so great that his expansion, or first expansion in this case, Karnadaksha Vishnu, right? So kind that he's doing all this just to give us who turned away from Krishna a chance. And then after that, beyond that, we can think about, oh, we are here in this material world. Like Divinity Mata, you were sharing her experience, and we all have certain realizations with the Lord. And we think, I am so insignificant. And yet that Lord who is the supreme creator, who is the source of the supreme creator, that Lord is personally reciprocating with me. What is my qualification? It is only that causeless mercy of the Lord that he is actually listening to me. He is listening to my prayers. He's seeing what little service I'm able to offer to him, and he's kindly reciprocating with me. It is almost like a small ant and a huge mountain. What is hope? It's like seems so far, but yet so near, because the Lord is personally there, listening to us, reciprocating with us. I mean, this is the whole theme that we are reading all this section on creation, and so technical, but underlying we see, wow, my Lord is so glorious. He's done all this just for me. Let me make use of this opportunity and fulfill my purpose of existence. Again, become that shining molecule of that sun, by coming in contact with sun. So that's like the mood of bhakti that we need to like remember, bring out. So, okay, so let's continue. We have to go to prayers also today. Mate, you have a question? Arundhati, Mate?
Yeah, Prabhuji, quickly. So can you explain, Shambhu? I understood up to some extent. Glance of the Lord is carried over by Goddess Lakshmi's shadow, who is Durga Devi.
No.
Correct?
Glance is carried by Rama Devi. Lord's consort, Rama Devi.
Rama Devi and Lakshmi Devi are different?
Same. No, you said Lakshmi Devi's shadow. No, not. I mean.
No, Lakshmi Devi's
Yeah,
shadow is Durga.
Durga, yeah. But
Right?
who's carrying the glance?
Rama Devi and Lakshmi Devi.
Who's carrying the glance? Rama Devi, right?
Rama Devi. Lakshmi Devi is carrying the glance.
Yeah.
And then her shadow is Durga Devi. Right? And it was then the glance goes on to her.
Yeah. So as soon as the glance is given to Durga, that like she is taking the glance,
Given to Durga.
then it becomes Shambhu. The glance itself is actually Shambhu.
Oh, glance itself is Shambhu.
Yeah. Because the Lord does not directly unite with
Right.
Maya.
So
right?
the glance of the Karanodaksha Vishnu is Shambhu.
Is Shambhu, yeah. Is Shambhu, yes.
Okay. I got it, Prabhuji. So then, as an extension to Divyanita Lila Mataji's question, the Lord exhales the bubbles. Those are the universes, right?
Yeah.
And in that universe, the unmanifested Pradhan is present.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah, we can take it. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Thank you for the clarification.
So 27.
Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. Why do you worship Shiva in the form of Linga, Prabhuji? You said something I could not fully understand.
Yeah, because, like, how is so the glance is what? The living entities. But finally, the living entity is going to who? It's actually Shambhu, who's actually, then Shambhu is the glance. So one way, the manifestation of the Lord into this material nature, that manifestation is actually, so the jivas, where are we coming from? Actually, that way, Shambhu is in this material world our real father. So we are actually worshipping our source, which is the linga, which is the linga of Lord Shiva.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go 27. Who's next on the list, please? Can read the
Hare
Sanskrit.
Krishna, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Tato bhavan mahatattvam avyaktat kalachodita vignana vignanatmatma dehasthitam vishvam vyayanjasmat tamonudaha. Translation. Thereafter, influenced by the interactions of eternal time, the supreme sum total of matter called the Mahatattva became manifested. And in this Mahatattva, the unalloyed goodness, the Supreme Lord, sowed the seeds of universal manifestation out of his own body.
So this is the verse that is actually, I mean, it's quite technical, but it actually, if someone asks what is Pradhan and Mahatattva, this is one of these verses which really explains Pradhan and Mahatattva, right? So if in this verse, if you say Avyakta from the unmanifested, so what is unmanifested? Pradhan, right? Pradhan. So from the unmanifested, from the Avyakta and Mahat Tattvam. From the unmanifested, what is coming? Mahatattva. And how is it coming? By Kala Chodita, by the influence of time. Right? Up to this point, everyone is okay? From the unmanifested, Pradhan, Avyakta, by the influence of time, what is coming? Abhavat came into existence. What came into existence? Mahatattva, the supreme sum total of everything. Right? And then, what is this Mahatattva? Right? Okay. What is this Mahatattva? Then he actually makes a point. The first one, he says, Vijnana Atma. This Mahatattva is a supreme unalloyed goodness. Vijnana Atma. Supreme unalloyed goodness. So basically, this Mahatattva is, when we say goodness, right, unalloyed goodness, it is the predominance of Sattva. At the time, we can say it is composed of knowledge, it's a form of excellent knowledge, is total consciousness. Right? And Prabhupada in the purport also makes the point that how this Mahatattva is directly connected with the supreme consciousness of the Supreme Being. So Mahatattva, one way you can consider, it is in between the Lord and the material energy. It is directly connected with the supreme consciousness of the Lord, but it appears as material. Right? So if you consider this way spiritual, this way material, Mahatattva is right there. Right? So it is the directly connected with supreme consciousness, but from this side it appears material. Okay, I'm just going to say it and we'll see if it makes. So what is Mahatattva? It is the shadow of the pure consciousness. It is the shadow of pure consciousness. So it is right in between that consciousness of the Lord and the material nature. Right? Okay. So that's the first point. So Vijnana Atma. So Vijnana referring to knowledge. It is composed of knowledge. Basically, it is Sattva, right? It is predominantly Sattva. Then second one, it says Atma Dehastam. And where is it coming out? Out of the own consciousness of the Lord. It is connected to the consciousness of the Lord. So it is coming out of his own body. Right? And then he said, the next Sanskrit is Vishwam. Right? So Vishwam means all the universes will be manifested from this So it is almost like a seed, right? If I give you a seed, the seed has the potency to become a big tree. So similarly, the Mahat Tattva has the seeds of the universes in one way, or the seeds of universal manifestation, not the universal manifestation. It's like in seed form. And then later on, we'll see by the agitation of the modes, then it becomes all the 14 planetary systems, etc. Right? But it is the seed form, right? So it is a seed of the universal manifestation, right? Just like a seed manifests into a tree. And the fourth point is, it is Vyanjan Tamaha Nudaha. It is supreme light. It removes the darkness of ignorance caused by the pralaya. Okay. I mean, this is like the most technical verse in this section about Mahat Tattva, right? So Mahat Tattva, it is, what is the first point? It is Vijnana Atma. It is unalloyed goodness. So it is pure goodness, but if it's only pure goodness, then there is no question of the other modes. But with Mahat Tattva, it is pure goodness, but a slight addition of Sutra Tattva, which is actually carrying the mode of Rajas. So predominantly it is Sattva. But along with that, there is Sutra. So Mahatattva, Sutra Tattva, which is actually carrying this mode of Rajas. So because of the mode of Rajas, so then the thing happened. Okay. So now this. Okay.
Prabhu,
Anyway,
hold on.
I'll just finish and then I know it's quite technical, but let me just finish this. So Prabhupada also makes a point. Mahat Tattva is the total consciousness, because it is this total consciousness that is represented in every living entity as Chitta. This Mahat Tattva is total consciousness, and it is this which is manifested in every living entity as Chitta or intelligence. So what does this mean? So Mahat Tattva, we said, okay, it is something directly in contact with the Supreme Consciousness, but at the same time, it appears material. Okay. And the same Mahat Tattva that is manifested in all of us as Chitta or intelligence. What kind of intelligence? Not the intelligence to enjoy material nature, but the intelligence to turn back to Krishna, because that connection of Mahat Tattva is there with the Supreme Consciousness. So that same Mahat Tattva is manifested in every living entity as Chitta or intelligence. Okay. Okay. Is everyone over confused at this point? Yes. Okay. So let's see. Okay, what questions we have? Should I repeat this, or you got like 4 points we talked about, right? On Mahat Tattva.
Please repeat, Prabhuji.
Okay. Maybe you all can repeat. What was the first point of Mahat Tattva we said?
Shadow of pure consciousness is Mahatattva.
Okay.
Vijnana Atman.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll go with that Sanskrit. The first point as Vijnana Atma.
Atman.
So what does that mean? Vijnana Atma.
Unalloyed goodness, supreme unalloyed goodness.
Yeah. So it is unalloyed goodness. And what is Vijnan there? Knowledge. And what kind of knowledge? Because it's that same knowledge which is manifested in each one of us as that intelligence. So it is a knowledge by which the conditioned jiva can connect to the Supreme Consciousness. Okay. First point. Everyone, at least, I mean, this will be like, when we progress in bhakti, we'll realize this more and more. But first point, at least theoretically, you get something of it. Everyone? Yes, no? Pratna Mataji, she looks totally confused. It's okay, Mataji. We can go to the next.
Yes, Prabhuji. And we Jiva souls, we are not in pure in consciousness, but here it is saying that it is beginning from the pure consciousness. All the creation is done with the pure consciousness plus the other element.
Yeah, plus the sutra. Yeah, that's perfect. Okay, the next point. What was next point? Atma Dehastatam, right? Atma Dehastatam. That is situated on the bodily self, right? It is, it's coming from the body of the Lord. So that is, it's coming from the body of the Lord. Vishwam universes. So Vishwam, that is, what does the Mahatattva contain? Just like a seed contains the whole tree, it consists of the seeds of the material manifestation. Okay. And fourth point is Vyanjan Tamaha Nudaha. It removes the darkness of ignorance caused by the pralaya. So because it is that unalloyed goodness, it is that knowledge, it removes the darkness of ignorance. So that's why it is manifested in all of us as that intelligence by which we can connect to the Supreme Consciousness. Okay, so we will, any questions right now? So it is Mahatattva is predominantly goodness, but then there is a slight addition of the Sutra Tattva, which is actually the mode of passion, right? So that from that Sutra Tattva, then activity will start, right? So next few verses we'll talk about activity.
The next verse is what throws me for a loop, because we're going from pure goodness to the mode of ignorance. And
okay,
I'm real curious to see how this is going to be explained.
Okay, so let's proceed to the next verse and then we'll come to Mataji's question. Okay, so let's go to the next 28.
Sopyam cha gunakalatman bhagavad dristi gocharaha atmanam vyakarodatma vishwasyasya sisrushyaha. Thereafter, the Mahatattva differentiated itself into many different forms as the reservoir of would-be entities. The Mahatattva is chiefly in the mode of ignorance and it generates the false ego. It is the planetary expansion of the personality of Godhead with full consciousness of creative principles and life and time of purification.
Okay. So Saha Mahatattva, okay, so we are talking on the Mahatattva, Saha Api also. So that same Mahatattva which is predominantly in mode of what? Goodness, right? That same Mahatattva also, right? Vyakarat is differentiated. So we are talking of the same Mahatattva which is predominantly in mode of goodness is differentiated. It is actually getting transformed by the influence of time, right? Into what? Atmana, into many different forms. Now, that same Mahatattva by the influence of time is actually manifesting into those other forms. And we talked about one of that is Sutra Tattva, which has like that tinge of Rajas there, some tinge of mode of passion, right? Now, this Mahatattva is where the Jivas are impregnated, right? So that portion of the Mahatattva where the Jivas are impregnated. Now, Jivas are in what mode? Because the Jivas, when after the previous annihilation, they enter back into the body of the Lord, right? Karuna Akshay Vishnu, and they are in ignorance. That's why they didn't go back home, back to Godhead. They are in ignorance. So that element of Mahatattva where the Jivas are impregnated, that is actually what? Mode of ignorance. That is the mode of ignorance. So that's how tamas comes. Tamas is because of our presence in that Mahatattva. That is tamas. Right? So you see, it is goodness. Goodness, a little bit, there is a mode of passion. And then R, because we are in ignorance, that third aspect is tamas. The sattva, rajas, tamas. Like, what is our condition? We are what? We are not in pure goodness for sure, right? And at that time, we are not even that Rajas influence is not so much there because we have not started doing fulfilling her. We're mainly in tamas. So when the jivas are impregnated into this pure goodness, our presence, because we are also consciousness, we are also of that pure nature. But right now, jivas are influenced by something. We are covered by something. What is that? That is the covering of tamas. And that's how the third element of the mode of nature comes. So sattva, rajas, and tamas. So Mataji, does that help?
It does, and it just shows too how important it is when you hear people talk. You know how some people, they'll mention just one verse and then take things out of context. You know, so you've really got to have a grasp of the whole process.
The whole picture. Yeah, that's a good.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, go ahead.
Prabhu, so you said Mahatattva gets divided into many Mahatattva's, right?
Not
Many.
Mahatattva's. I mean, it gets differentiated, but what does it differentiate into? Sutra Tattva and then this tamas, like influence.
Yeah, I remember you explaining when we were reading that the Sutra Tattva has the mode of passion.
Yes. Yes.
Right? It
Yes.
is the same Mahatattva which is now influenced by mode of passion becomes Sutra Tattva, separate them Mahatattva, right?
Yes.
Mahatattva is purely, completely goodness. So now when we are, I mean, jivas are in Mahatattva, and that arises the mode of ignorance. That, like, I mean,
right.
That is the concept of mode of ignorance comes in place. So now the pure goodness of Mahatattva diminishes? Like, because Mahatattva is a sum total of God's Krishna's consciousness. Like, our presence make it negate?
No. I mean, Mahatattva, like last purport, what did Prabhupada say? It is the total consciousness, but he also said that this is the shadow of pure consciousness.
Shadow.
Shadow of pure. So it is connected with the direct pure consciousness, but it is a shadow of pure consciousness. Like, how a shadow is connected to a body, right? Similarly, the Mahatattva is like the shadow. It's connected to the pure. Like the shadow is connected to us. It is. If we are not there, if you see a shadow not connected with you, then certainly there's some problem there, right? So it is like that Mahatattva is actually connected to the pure. So shadow of the pure consciousness. Now it is that shadow which is actually getting differentiated into this rajas and tamas. Not the pure consciousness. The pure consciousness would not actually, how can it be influenced by the modes?
Matter, kal.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, and then after.
I have a question. Like, so here, like, means Lord Shambhu is there and Durga Devi is there, and Lord lands as you mentioned. So where comes the Brahmaji comes from, Ji? Because he's the secondary creator. So what is his job and when he does actually all this?
That's much later, right? Right now we are talking only of Sarga aspect.
Okay.
And we'll end the Sarga aspect with Brahmaji. And then Visarga starts when Brahma does all the creation. I mean, this is much later.
Okay.
Brahmaji is much later. He's not even come into picture, right? Because
So
now we are
Shambhu
talking.
comes before that?
Yes. Because right now we are just talking from Karunadakshai Vishnu, right? And then we are talking of Shambhu and that creation, that clan. And then after that, Karunadaksha Vishnu is going to expand and enter into each universe as Garbhodaksha Vishnu, and then Kshirodaksha Vishnu. Then from Garbhodaksha Vishnu Brahma. So it is much later. Brahma.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay. Krishna, please help. Like, this is my understanding, but I hope my understanding is right. I'm praying that my understanding is right. But yeah. Okay. So in 28, so we are actually, okay, Mahatattva. And then we talked of Amsha Guna Kalatma, it says, right? So this plenary expansion of the personality of Godhead is, okay, so now, so Prabhupada in the last point, he actually says it's a plenary expansion of the personality of Godhead with full consciousness of creative principles and the time for fructification. So the Sanskrit there says guna and kala. So what does this Mahatattva have? It has a 3 modes and it has the element of time, because we already mentioned without time, nothing is going to happen, right? And the 3 modes are present. So it has that creative principle and it also has the time when the things are going to manifest. Right? Okay, everyone. Okay, so Prabhupada in this purpose is making the point, Mahatattva is the via medium between pure consciousness and material existence. Everyone now understands that point? How it is the via medium between these two? It is connected to the pure consciousness, and just remember, like a shadow is connected to us, right? And on this side, it appears material, right? So if you see the shadow, somehow like if a person is standing, like let's say at the corner of a wall and just behind, you can see only his shadow, right? What does the shadow have? Darkness. But the person, where is he? He's in light. Because if the person was not in light, there's no question of shadow. All right. So similarly, that pure consciousness on this side, but the shadow is the Mahatattva. Right? And because it is the shadow, then we see all the modes and guna and the principles, everything acting. Right? So it is a via medium between the light and the material. So pure consciousness and the material existence. Right? It's a junction of matter and spirit, where from the false ego is actually generated. So as soon as we talk of tamas, what does that mean? That is the ahankar. A cause of existence here in this material world is false ego. Right? So tamas means what is the ignorance because of which we did not go back to Godhead and we have to again enter into the body of Karanakshaya Vishnu? It is our false ego, our ahankar. So that ignorance is basically the false ego. And we talked of how ignorance is manifested. How is it manifested? That portion of the Mahatattva which is actually impregnated by this jiva, that is that false ego, in the mode of ignorance aspect.
So this tamoguna is impregnated by the jivas.
I mean, it is in the jivas, right? Because we are conditioned.
Already there, already.
Yeah.
There.
So
Yes.
that aspect
why
of
we are here.
Mahatattva, which is impregnated by us jivas, is that aspect of ignorance, tamas. Right? And then, right. And then Prabhupada talks a little bit of false ego, how false ego is the binding force of material existence. So Lord again and again is giving us a chance to get free from false ego. And what is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's first teaching to Sanatana Goswami? Jivera Surup Hoya Nityera Krishna Das. So when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving, he's giving the root cause of our material existence. What is that? Our root cause is ahankar, and Jivera Swarupa is Krishna Das. So we are starting off with that conception of transforming our false ego. That so many times I'm thinking, aham mameti, aham mameti, aham mameti. But first instruction, no, not aham mameti. You are Krishna Das. Right? Your Swarup is that of Krishna Das. And that's how we start in that process. Right? Okay.
Prabhu, can you please explain this, that it is in consciousness of creative principles and the time of fructification. So basically the Mahatattva is aware of when to like fructify as per time. It is like,
I mean, by the influence of
yes.
time, things will manifest at its own time. Because of the
Say
influence
just
of
like
time.
just like how we have like delivery babies, I mean, they come out on their own, they exactly know when to pop out.
But at
I
that
mean,
particular defined time.
right. That
Yeah.
is like
So
exactly 9 months after certain days.
Exactly. So similarly, like that, this creation, by the influence of time, at the defined times, all these things are actually happening. Right? So it's all under
Mahatattva also
Kala
is very
Chodita.
important.
What? Sorry. What's-
Mahatattva also has brain. It's just we Jivas have very.
I mean, but see, again, everything is happening. We should not forget. Why? First aspect is the glance of the Lord. So where is everything happening from? All this glance of the Lord. Like even a mother giving birth to a child, like, okay, after 9 months is going to happen. All that transformation. But if the seed is not given by the father, no question of anything. So if the glance is not there, then no question. So everything is by the glance of the Lord. So that's the point that again and again. And we'll see the prayers of, yeah, we'll come to that point. Prayers of the demigods later on. Okay. Okay. 29. We, see, let me see where to take a pause. Oh, yeah. Okay. So after this, I think it's, if you have survived up to this point, then it should be easy. Rest of the point. Okay, so 29. Let's go ahead.
Text 29. Mahatatvat vikurvanat aham tattvam vyajayata karyakarana kartratma bhutendriya manomaya vaikashikas tejasascha tamasascheti aham tridha. Translation: Mahatattva, or the great causal truth, transforms into false ego, which is manifested in three phases: cause, effect, and the doer. All such activities are on the mental plane and are based on the material elements, gross senses, and mental speculation. The false ego is represented in three different modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance.
Okay. So if you just see this chart, basically you have this entire verse. So if you see, this is all from Subodhini, right? So we talked of Karnadakshay Vishnu. You can see my screen, right? Yeah, okay. So Karnadakshay Vishnu, and everything is by the glance. He impregnates Jiva into material nature. So it's always the aspect of Kala. Kala Chodita. Everything is happening because of glance and time. Glance and time, right? Impregnate into Jiva, Jiva into material nature, Pradhan. So here the modes are inactive. It is undifferentiated, unmixed, right? And then Mahatattva, predominantly in Sattva, right? But then there is an aspect of Sutra Tattva, which is Rajas aspect, right? And then the part of Mahatattva which is impregnated by us, ignorant jivas, brings point to Ahankar, right? Which is predominantly in Tamas. Now, basically, we are reading from this point to further below what happens. So this verse, what does it say? It starts with Mahatattva Vikurvanat. Vikurvanat means transforming. So this Mahatattva is transforming into what? Aham Tattva. What is Aham Tattva? Aham Mameti. Aham, right? What is Aham Mameti? That's false ego, right? That Ahankar. So this Mahatattva is transforming into Ahankar, Aham Tattva. So Mahatattva is becoming Aham Tattva, the Ahankar, right? And then that Ahankar, then what does that happen? Vyajayata. That becomes transformed into or manifested as Karya, Karna, Kartritva. So here if you see, so this Ahankar again gets affected by those three modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance. So predominantly ignorance. But that ignorance affected by an aspect of goodness, that ignorance affected by an aspect of passion, and then ignorance, like combination, right? So goodness in ignorance give rise to what? So three aspects: Karya, Karana, Kartritva. Katritva, right? So here you have Karta, Karana, and Karya. So Ahankar, mode of goodness, gives Karta, the doer, in passion, Karana, in ignorance, Karya. Right? So doer, cause, effect. Right? So I'm just going through a words, right? Karya, Karana, Kartatva. Then Bhutendriya, Manomaya. So we'll come to this point of Manomaya, that everything is happening on Manomaya, hovering on the mental platform. Okay. Now we'll come back to that. Vaikarikas, Taijasas, Cha, Tamasas. Cheti aham trida, right? So Vaikarika, this is Vaikarikaha, right? So Vaikarikaha is what? Mode of goodness here, right? Taijasa is what? Like tamas, mode of passion. And then, Taijasa is like mode of rajas, and then tamas is mode of ignorance. So basically those three words. So if you see the entire Sanskrit in this, we have explained everything. Mahatattva, Vikuna. Transformation of Mahatattva gives what? Aham Tattva. This is what? False ego. Then false ego, Vyajata, that manifests what? Karya, Karana, and Karta. Right? So those three aspects you see right here in the chart. Karta, Karana, and Karya. Right? And then Bhutendriya, Manomaya. So we'll come to that point. But Vaikarikas, that's goodness. Taijasas is passion, and Tamasas is ignorance. Cheti, Aham, Trida. So these are the three modes of Aham. What is Aham? Aham Tattva. That is actually false ego. So these are three modes of false ego. So if you see this chart, and the Sanskrit is okay. The only part is, why is it said that all such activities are actually on the mental platform? So Prabhupada said in the translation, all such activities on the mental platform are based on material elements, gross senses, and mental speculation. Okay, so we'll come back to that point because further in the verses will come what happens below all these, right? So right now we'll just stop at this Karta, Karana, and Karya. Right? Now, okay. So we'll come to Prabhupada's purport. Prabhupada says here, I mean, this purport is actually so beautiful. Like, there's so many philosophies. And you just say, Prabhupada, the entire Bhagavatam, he gave all these books, Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Bhagavad Gita, all these books. Just take one purport, like this verse, one purport. Entire philosophy is clear. All the other philosophies defeated just by one purport of purport. This is such a perfect purport. So we'll just quickly go through it. It says, a pure living entity in original spiritual existence is fully conscious of his constitutional position as eternal servitor of Krishna. So what is our Swarupa? Our original Swarupa? Servant of Krishna. So when we become pure, we come back to our original spiritual existence, then we become fully conscious that we are Jivera Swarupa, Krishnera Nitya Das. Right? All souls situated in pure consciousness are liberated. Therefore, they live eternally in Vaikuntha planets in the spiritual sky. So where are we meant to be in our original state? In the spiritual world, right? And then it says, when the material creation is manifested, it's not meant for those eternally liberated. They have nothing to do with this material creation. It is meant for who? RRA, right? Those who are rebellious souls who are not prepared to accept the subordination of the law. And that spirit of false lordship is called false ego, and manifested in three modes of material nature, and it exists in mental speculation only. So that mental speculation is what? When we forget our original constitutional position and associate ourselves with belonging to Maya, that is all mental speculation. It's not reality. It's not reality as such. It's not anything to do with our original state, and hence it's on the mental platform. Okay, so let's see. And then further Prabhupada says, those who are in goodness think that each and every person is God. Those who are in passion, they want to lord it over the material nature, right? And those who are in ignorance, they just identify the body as the self. Right? So these are all attitudes of rebellious jivas. But the Lord is so kind that he's actually given us scriptures like Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam so that we can understand the science of Krishna and make our lives successful. The entire material creation, therefore, is meant for falsely egoistic living entities hovering on the mental plane under different illusions in the modes of material nature. I mean, what is not there in this purport? Sambandha, Abhideya, Prayojana, modes of material nature, how are we influenced, what is our true nature? Everything is there in this purport. everything. This purport is like just like so complete. Just this one purport is actually complete to understand who we are, why are we here, and what should we do to go back home, back to God. Okay. Okay, so let's stop here. Let's take a break. It's you have to digest all this knowledge. It's quite a bit. Okay, maybe everyone can share something so that we can see how the knowledge is actually, how are we receiving the knowledge.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I really like the point that Krishna is so merciful that all he wants that each and every part of his should just come and dance with him. And different philosophers have taken this. There is a famous quote from inspirational quote poem from Hafiz, where it says that God knows only 4 words: "Come dance with me."
Nice. Very nice. Thank you. Okay, come dance with me.
So, Prabhu, I have a question. So, Prabhupada is saying all these activities are on the mental plane. So, basically, all these tendencies that a jiva experiences in the material world, mode of ignorance in false ego working in goodness, passion, and ignorance. So that is what is being explained. Like these mental words coming out from the minds of the jiva are coming. That's what it is meaning, right? In this
Like
purport
say,
by saying that.
so when Prabhupada is explaining, like what does jiva do? Because we are all under the influence of false ego. Now, in the false ego, if we are influenced by the mode of goodness in false ego, then what do we think?
Will act. I'm God. You are God. Everybody's God.
If we're in the mode of passion, what do we think? We think that I am the Lord of everything as survey. I want to enjoy this material. In ignorance, we think I'm just this body. There's nothing beyond the body. When the body dies, everything is over. But
Finished.
all these 3 concepts are what? It's just mental speculation. I mean, there's no as such reality to this, like a dream. We are thinking all these, but it's just like a dream. And someone has to come and say, wake up. You're right here. You're thinking you're all these, but it's like a dream. So it's all on mental speculation platform.
So these are all manifestations of the Mahatattva's further going down, right? Like Ahankaras, expressions of the Ahankaras, right? These
The
are like
expression of ahankar in the 3 modes, everything
in
is.
okay.
So,
All these are on mental spectrum.
when you talk of karta, karan, cause, effect, right? All those 3, right? They're all a result of just this. Well, because the jivas want to enjoy, then what happens? So if you go back to that chart, when the jivas want to enjoy, they need some way to interact with this material nature. And hence, there is the tanmatras, there is the intelligence, there is mind, all that is manifestation. But from where? Just because of that false mental conception of the jiva that he wants to enjoy or he wants to, So all the elements that are manifested is just to fulfill that rebellious attitude of the jiva. And then from that, give a chance to come back to the original.
With the presence of Mahatattva's intelligence, like, that's what you said.
Exactly. With the presence of Mahatattva's intelligence, which is actually present in all of us.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Prabhu, I was thinking, Prabhupada gives us so much knowledge to understand how insignificant we are. And we are not the seer. Krishna is the seer. And I like the more of you said, go in front of Radha Golokananda to have him see us. And he also feels so far away, but he's still with us, so close and very personal. And Prabhupada reminds us our rebellious attitude, which we need to change with all this knowledge, right?
Yes. Thank you.
In the chart, with the karta and karan, can you explain why karan, the cause, is not mentioned under goodness and karta as doer under passion? Is there? So I was thinking karta as a doer should be under passion and karan should be the cause, and then the effect is the ignorance.
like I would make the point that because karta as the doer, and if you see what is karta, actually it says in the chat jnana shakti, right? Jnana shakti. Like how is and then we'll come to the point that how the devatas are manifested from this, right? So finally it is actually the devatas who are actually doing everything, so that's why, and they are manifested from the mode of goodness. So because the devatas are doing that entire aspect of creation and they are manifested in the mode of goodness, hence that karta is ahankar in goodness. Right, so that's how I would say. And then the cause is basically it gives the 10 senses and intelligence. So the cause of the devata's creation, because for every sense there is for every devata there is a sense, right? So for Surya it says is the sun, eyes. For Vayu it is the skin, and so on. So the karta there is actually giving what? It is giving the senses. And because of the senses, to enjoy the material nature, there are sense elements. So that is the effect. Right? So that way doer, cause, effect. So that's how. Okay, anything else? Any other points?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I have one question. Is that okay?
Yes, please.
Yeah. You said Mahatattva, like it's mentioned also. Mahatattva is the shadow of pure consciousness, which is Shuddha Sattva, right? So
Yeah.
because it's a shadow of Shuddha Sattva, the shadow carries Sattva, not Shuddha Sattva. Where is that Shuddha Sattva is changing into Sattva?
Person and shadow, right? The shadow is connected
Right.
to the person. Person is Shuddha Sattva here. Shadow is what?
Sattva.
Yeah, Sattva, Rajas, and mainly Sattva, but Rajas and Tamas. Everything comes in the shadow. So it's just like you may see the shadow of a person reflected on a water body, right? Now the water body, if someone throws a stone, the shadow is going through all those transformations. Like the shadow will go up and down. You'll see the shadow deform. But is the person actually changed? No.
No.
Right? So if the wind blows and there's the waves, you'll see your image, the shadow will go up and down. So similarly, it is this Mahat Tattva which is going through the influences. And what is that throwing of a stone or that wind blowing? That is the aspect of time.
Kala.
Kala. Right? So because of that, all that will happen here. Right? But because it is connected, we have a chance. So even though we are here, we are in this plane, because we are connected to the pure, we can actually go back to. So that manifests that this pure is manifested in all the jivas as that aspect of intelligence by which a jiva can turn back and get connected to the supreme consciousness.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so take a break. Maybe take some deep breaths so you can absorb them.
I
Yeah,
just wonder, Vijay Mataji posted, so God says, come dance with me, and looks like it is given by Hafiz, is a Muslim. They're impersonalist, right? Probably. Just wondering, like, how come?
not necessarily, like even in Muslim tradition, even in Christian tradition, there are such saints which talk about God and our relationship with God. Like, often devotees quote this Saint Francis of Assisi. And in his book, he actually talks of Madhurya Rasa, that one can have conjugal love with Krishna. Like, the Muslims, their main thing is they say, like, God is so great that you cannot describe him. He is inconceivable, he cannot be described, and hence they actually say, they don't have like as such a form. They don't say, they say like we cannot perceive the form, and hence they don't go to a form. But those few, I mean, in every tradition there are saints who actually know that finally we have a relationship, and that relationship is in different rasas. So it's wonderful that it's coming from yeah, I mean, it's there everywhere, but it's just like, because of influence of Kali Yuga, people forget the true essence of all dharmas and just focus on all those rituals and then fight in the name of rituals. I am doing this, you're doing this, hence we are different, I'll kill you, all that. But if you go to the origin, like how Prabhupada said, any religion that actually helps you develop your love for God is bona fide. And we see that in other religions also. So we don't say that, well, one way, like we don't say that we are the only way in a fanatic way, Like Prabhupada, he met Christians, he said like, okay, become a good Christian. And he focused mainly on meat eating. He said like, why do you eat meat? All those. He said, thou should not kill. So follow Jesus properly. If you're really a Christian, become a good Christian, Because even then that tradition, Krishna is like based on different mentalities of us jivas, there are these different faiths, different traditions. But every tradition, if someone goes to the root, you can still connect with that same God.
I think in Quran also is described, the face of Allah and the eyes of Allah. And in Genesis and Christianity also they say the eyes of the Lord and having the hand of the God. There is mention.
Thank you.
There is a book, The Dark Night of the Soul by Saint Teresa of Avila, where she is explaining the vision of Krishna. She actually saw Krishna during a meditation or whatever, and she's in that book. She has described the entire vision of Krishna.
Yeah, that is one more. Devotees talk about this other Saint Teresa of Avila, right? Avila. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Like the thing about Krishna consciousness is the unique thing is that intimacy with Lord that we have in our tradition, that is unparalleled. We don't deny other traditions, but that intimacy that we have, knowing Krishna's heart, Krishna's mind, how Krishna is having rasa with Mother Yashoda and all these playful, that intimacy is unique to our Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition. That is nowhere. So, okay, let's take a break. Let's come back and continue.
Prabhuji, we cannot clearly see you, bro. It's break. Your image is scrolling.
Oh,
it is happening last 10-15 minutes. Your image is little blurry.
Yeah, it showed bandwidth low or something. So
but
it's
my voice
better
was,
now.
voice was okay. You could hear me.
Voice is clear, Prabhu. Voice is clear. Image is not clear.
Okay. Let's take a
Hare
break.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Vishnupadaya Krishnastaya.
Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama,
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, Hare Krishna, everyone. Please come back and continue. Okay, so welcome back, everyone. There's actually a beautiful Vijay Mata is posting this messages from the Saint Teresa. It actually says here, I saw there a blackish youth with a strange beauty. On top of his head, he has something like a garland, not a crown or great stones, and many maidens who walked there with him. I mean, he's talking of Krishna and the gopis, it's like so amazing. And all singing praises to God. I did nothing but open my heart. And then there's music of angels and singing of birds. Amazing. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. It's very nice. So yeah. Okay, so let's continue. We are in text number 30, right? Yeah, text 30. Okay, so now let's just do the English and it should be easier. So let's continue. We can go a little faster now.
Hare Krishna. The false ego is transformed into mind by interaction with the mode of goodness. All the demigods who control the phenomenal world are also products of same principle, namely the interaction of false ego and the mode of goodness. Hare Krishna.
So we are just doing this chat now, right? So we are just slokas telling this chat. So first it says false ego, ahankar, transformed by the mode of goodness. So vikurvanat is a word that we see again and again in these verses. That is transformation, right? And then vaikarikat is goodness. So ahankar in mode of goodness gives what in this chat? Mind and 10 sense devatas. So here in this verse, what do you say? Manaha, that is mind, and then devaha, so demigods, right? So it is basically we are reading this chart here. All the demigods who control the phenomenal world and mind, they are manifested from ahankar in mode of goodness. Next verse. 31. Let's go.
The senses are certainly products of the mode of passion in false ego, and therefore philosophical speculative knowledge and fruitive activities are predominantly products of the mode of passion.
So what is manifested here in this chart? So it says prana, 10 senses and intelligence. They are result of mode of passion, right? So here it says the senses are certainly products of mode of passion in false ego. And then what is the result of the senses? Here we are just talking about the senses. It says is philosophical, speculative knowledge and fruitive activities. So Prabhupada actually in the purport, he makes the point that what is the result of the jivas in false ego? They want to be happy, separate from the God, right? And when they want to be happy, separate from God, how do they act? They just do two things. One is they do fruitive activities. That means they do any activities that would actually result in some kind of happiness, some kind of fruits, some kind of money, some kind of opulence, fame, and so on. That's how people act. And then finally, we are working to get some happiness. At some stage, we say like, oh, I'm trying, I'm not getting anything. And then what do? Philosophical speculation. So these are the only two functions that the jiva actually does. Is it okay? I see the message, my internet is unstable. You can hear me? Okay.
We can hear you, Prabhu, yes.
Okay. So Prabhupada in this purport, he actually says, so what is the means to get out of false ego? How do we, like if our root cause of existence here is false ego, how do we get out of this false ego? What is the main point? One has to hear about Krishna in all submission and love from a bona fide spiritual master. It is only when we hear from a bona fide guru, Jivera Swarup hoy Krishnera Nityadas, Jivera Swarup hoy Krishnera Nityadas, right? Then that false ego can get transformed into our real ego. But that process is all dependent on hearing from pure devotees. Right? Prabhupada here in this purpose says the 12 Mahajanas. We should hear from the 12 Mahajanas. Right? Mahajana Yena Katha Sapanta. Now, what does it mean to hear with all submission and love? This is just a point of discussion. Practically, what does it mean to you to hear with all submission and love? Like you're hearing classes, you hear so many classes. So what does it mean to hear with all submission and love?
Prabhuji, we are like desperate, as you said that even if we have a single material desire, we are going to get another body. So if a person is drowning, he should be desperate or take me out from here. So that should be our attitude, right?
Nice one, nice one. So that eagerness to hear Krishna Katha, that yes, I really need this for myself, so that's one point. And then submission and love. Submission should be easy, right? What does it mean to hear, in the mood of submission?
Prabhu, the word of like Shraddha Dhanasya, right?
Yeah.
It is hearing with.
Yeah, eagerness, with that faith. So one way submission we can say is actually having the faith on the speaker, faith on the knowledge, and faith in the process. Because even if we have a slight doubt, yeah, I'm hearing this, but I don't know whether I trust this person, or some doubts. Then in the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, towards the end, what does Krishna say? Ashraddha dhana purusha. Then, then that's not really hearing. Then if you have doubts, then Krishna will block that knowledge. Though you're hearing it, you won't hear it, right? So with submission, having that full faith that yes, the speaker is bona fide, the process is bona fide, and the lineage is actually bona fide. So have full faith. And also, submission means what? To submit to someone, right? So that means to take out that concept of, oh, I know this, right? As soon as we hear, if someone starts telling about Damodar Leela, first thing our mind will say what? Oh, I know this. I know. And as soon as we say, I know, then Krishna says, okay, if you know, the sound vibration will come, but it won't reveal anything. Because you know, right? So I don't need to reveal anything more to you. So having that submission, that no, I don't know. I really want to hear. There is so much nectar in this. I want to hear more and more, right? So that's, and we hear the Vidura also make the point, right? What was that shloka? Kas tripnuyat tirtha pado abhidhanat, right? Kas tripta. Who can be satisfied by hearing? The more you hear Govardhan Leela, every day, let's say we are hearing Govardhan Leela, the more we'll actually relish the katha. So hearing with that mood. And out of love means what? Hearing out of love. Like Prabhupada is using these two words. That's why I'm stressing. Hearing about him in all submission and love from a bona fide authority. What does it mean to hear with love? Like one way you can actually say hearing with love means having a spirit of gratitude, having a spirit of, a mood of service. Like if you really love someone, that means what? If you really love someone, then you will actually
You
serve.
serve.
Yeah. So having the spirit of service, that when you're receiving knowledge, you want to serve, what is that? Tadvidi paripatina pariprashan sevaya. You are willing to serve. Right? So maybe those two can be, and you can expand. Okay, next verse, 32. Just go to English. Let's go quickly. Who's next, please? Wake up, everyone. Okay.
Oh, I thought Vijay Mehta Mataji. Okay. The sky is the product of sound, and the sound is the transformation of egoistic passion. In other words, the sky is the symbolic representation of the Supreme Soul.
Okay. Now, where are we in the chart? So now we have come to this bottom third section, right? We are going to talk of here Tanmatras and these 5 elements. So next few verses is just the sound, ether, touch, air, form, fire, taste, water, smell, and earth. And so this is what we are going to talk. So next 5 verses is just on this. So first, what is it? Sky is the product of sound. So sky or ether, right? So ether or sky here is a product of what? Sound here. You see in the chat. And sound is what? The transformation of egoistic passion. Now, it is interesting in this verse, why Prabhupada says passion. And if you see in the Sanskrit also, it says tamasa. And then Prabhupada says from the mode of passion. And I tried to think about this, but I still don't have a clear idea. If you have any idea of why Prabhupada is saying transformation of egoistic passion, because the Sanskrit says tamasa. Isn't that tamas, ignorance? Okay. So anyway, that is something you can think about, and you can mark that as a question to ask some senior devotees. So anyway, coming back to here, we see actually tamasa, ignorance, we have, and then sound is manifesting into ether, right? So sky is the product of sound. In other words, sky is the symbolic representation of the Lord. Now, why is the sky symbol? Lingam Atmanaha. The Sanskrit said, come is ether or sky. Lingam Atmanaha. Why would you say sound is a symbolic representation of the Lord? We just talked about, right? Importance of hearing. And it is through the sound that the Lord is revealed to us. And hence of all the elements, earth, water, air, fire, ether, it is through that element of sound, right, that the Lord can be realized. And hence the Lord is particularly said, Lingam Atmana. Okay. Next verse. Okay, please.
Prabhu, just a translation.
Yeah, just translation.
Text 33. Thereafter, the personality of Godhead glanced over the sky, partly mixed with eternal time and external energy, and thus developed a touch sensation from which the air in the sky was produced.
Okay, so what is the next element here? Sound, ether. From ether, transforming into touch. Right? Just see the screen. It is like so clear. Touch. Right? And touch is connected. How will you feel something? If there's no air, you won't feel anything. Right? So through the element of air, you are actually experiencing touch. So here, and then what is required for all these transformations? Again, we repeated what? First is what? The glance of the Lord. Second is time energy, and it has to be affected on the material mode, on the material energy, right? So again, this verse also is repeating that it has to be mixed with eternal time, external energy, and the glance of the Lord. So all things, Kala, Maya, and Amsha Yogena. Oh, actually, it says Bhagavad Vikshitam, very clearly, Bhagavad Vikshitam, glance of the Lord. So Nabaha is transformed into touch, right? And then air. Right? Okay. Next, 34.
Thereafter, the extremely powerful air interacting with the sky generated the form of sense perception, and the perception of form transformed into electricity, the light to see the world.
Right. So now after in this chart, from air, what comes? Here it clearly says that after air interacted with sky, right? And generated what? Form, right? Sense perception. And the sense perception transformed into electricity or fire. Proper use the word electricity. But that's fire, right? Fire. So that's it. And then through this light, we can actually see the world. If there's no light, we cannot see anything. Okay, next. Go ahead. Anyone who's next?
35.
Yes.
When electricity was surcharged in the air and was glanced over by the Supreme, at that time, by a mixture of eternal time and external energy, there occurred the creation of water and taste.
I mean, like, imagine like there's repetition of the point. Again in this verse, it says mixture of eternal time, external energy, and glanced over by the Lord. So everything is happening by this. So from fire, what comes? Taste, and taste water, right? So that's basically this verse. 36.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Thereafter, the water produced from electricity was glanced over by the Supreme Personality of Godhead and mixed with eternal time and external energy. Thus, it was transformed into the earth, which is qualified primarily by smell.
Right. So last element here, from water comes smell and earth, right? So that's basically these slokas. So, so we are in 36, right? Yeah. Now, one thing in the purport Prabhupada is actually explaining. So if you see these elements, so earth, a sky has the property of what? Sound, right? So it's only through ether or sound that when we speak, then you can hear the other person, right? So it is through ether. Now air has the property of what?
Sound and touch.
Sound and touch, right? Fire has the property of what? Sound, touch, and form. Water has a property of what? All these four. And earth has all these five properties. Sound, touch, form, taste, and smell. Right? Why? Because from earth, if someone speaks, right? Even if the voice is, if the earth is not too, like, it's not like a rock stone or something, you can still hear, right? You can hear a person in the other room, right? But where is the sound if the both rooms are separated or completely locked? You may still hear, but it is traveling through, sound is traveling through earth, right? Touch, form, taste. So all earth has all these five properties. So there's five, water has four, fire has three, air has two, and ether has one property, right? So when one element mixes with another, the number of qualities increases. Okay. Then 37.
Hare Krishna. Oh, gentle one, Of all the physical elements, beginning from the sky down to the earth, all the inferior and superior qualities are due only to the final touch of the glance of Supreme Personality of Godhead.
So finally, we are concluding this section by saying that everything that we are seeing, inferior quality, superior quality, starting from the ether down to the earth, everything is because of who? The glance of the Lord. So who is the supreme creator? Who is the supreme cause of everything? Krishna. So if you understand this whole chart and come to the point that finally Krishna's hand is behind everything. He is the supreme cause of all causes. Everything is happening with the glance of the Lord, eternal time, external energy. Right? Prabhupada in this section also makes a point that if someone just focuses on what do materialists do, they actually study the properties of earth, water, fire, air, and then sound, right? Cell phone technology, how can we make it better, more reception, right? All those things they are playing with earth. If we are actually working with these energies, but if we are ignoring the person who's behind all this, who's actually doing all this, then is that very intelligent? Prabhupada says, no. One may have all these degrees, MA, PhD, BSc, MAD, all these degrees, right? We have all these degrees, but if we don't know the hand behind all them, then it is not very intelligent. Okay, so we have completed creation. Done this part, right? So technical section there. Now we'll come to the prayers of the demigods. Okay. So what are the questions? Any comments up to this point?
Prabhuji, I have a question. So sound needs a material medium to travel, like air. If we suck the air out, we won't be able to hear it. Light or the radiation can travel in vacuum. So I was trying to think that if there is no air, how can we hear the sound? So here it says sky is a product of sound. We can't even hear sound if there is no air. Only we can see light. I mean, the radiation can travel. The electromagnetic radiation can travel in the sky in vacuum, but we can't hear sound. Sound needs a medium to travel.
Right. So, see, the point is, as we are going from earth, water, fire, air, and ether, right, sky. Now, what is actually sky? What is sky? Like, even when you talk of sound, like travel through vacuum, there is some kind of energy that is traveling through, right? Some kind of energy, or like, you can go your physics.
Electric and magnetic fields, they are traveling. Yeah.
So there is some kind of energy. That medium is actually sky. Otherwise, like, you say the sky is up, but who can know what is the sky? It is so subtle, Even air is everywhere. We can only feel the presence of air by, oh, it is warm air. Our AC unit is getting warm air. Oh, there is air. Similarly, how can you feel the presence of sky? It is so subtle, even more subtle than air, through the flow of sound. So that's the way I would explain it. But sometimes with our physics and material laws, maybe we may not be able to completely understand. But this is the way to understand. How can we explain sky? We say blue sky. Where is sky? If you keep going up and up, it's not that you'll cover, oh, this is sky. You may cross through clouds, right? But you keep traveling up and up, you will enter into the outer space. Where is sky? It is actually that subtle element through which sound is actually propagated. So that's the way I would explain that. Okay. Everyone looks like tired and exhausted. And I mean, this is the nectar. This is the nectar we live for, right? I mean, we should be happy, and this is Srimad Bhagavatam. We should be like, in our heart, feel the satisfaction. This is Krishna himself. Every page of Bhagavatam, who are we seeing? We can see Krishna face to face. Right? So we are reading all these technical aspects of creation, but we know behind everything is the hand of my Supreme Personality of Godhead. My Ishtadev, that Ishtadev may be Radha Golokananda or Radha Raman, but he's that person. That person is behind all this. He did all this just for me, just to give me a chance to reform. Like, see Krishna in the pages of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And then when we see Krishna, if we are really seeing Krishna, then we feel like, oh, this is so wonderful. This is the real nectar of life, to see Krishna face to face. Right? You remember 2 weeks back we talked about, what did Prabhupada say? The entire form of life is to see Krishna. And our whole life should be develop our eagerness. Laulyam, that is our philosophy. Rupa Goswami says, Laulyam, right? That is our aim of life, to see Krishna, that eagerness. Where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? The story of the thief, right? Who heard that, oh, Krishna has so much jewelry. I want to see Krishna. That is our mood. So even we are studying this technical section, but underlying our mood will be, oh, like the last verse says, only due to the final touch of the glance of the Lord. Wow, that's amazing. Everything here is actually touched by the glance of the Lord. Like, anyway, maybe this is a little bit, but lover, beloved. If there is any object that is like, oh, this is used by my lover, then you may like keep that object and like, oh, this is so precious because maybe she's away or he's away, but you still like, oh, he used this, so-and-so object. I still have affection. Imagine you're seeing the entire material nature as this is touched by the glance of the Lord. So if you really have that love, everything that you see, you will actually say, oh, this is touched by Krishna. I will use this in Krishna's service. Everything here is touched by Krishna. It is all Krishna's prasad. And hence I will use it in Krishna's service. It's all touched by Krishna. So to develop that spirit of love, to develop, see Krishna face to face, that is the whole purpose of Bhagavatam. So okay, so we are 9:33, and now we are come to the next section, which is the prayers of the demigod. So we have no time to go through the prayers, but I will just quickly give that overview. So we'll just go through a chart where you can see what are the yeah.
So every verse is mentioning the glance. So is the Lord in every transformation he's mentioned is glancing, or he's just glanced at first?
I mean, the glance of the Lord is not different from the Lord, right? It's not just like how we see one glance. I saw that. No, I'm not seeing it. It's not like that. The
Right.
Lord's glance is actually making everything happen, all the
So
transformation.
basically he's seeing everything happening, right? Like how a drama, it's like going on. And that's why probably his pastimes of like creation is called creation Leela, right? Because he
Yes. So here, when we say the glance of the Lord, that is what? It is the energy of the Lord. Like one of the verses actually particularly says that the glance of the Lord is the energy. So that energy, that glance of the Lord is making all these transformations happen.
So it's basically like a chemistry lab he's in, seeing everything transforming from one another, creation of. Then the demigods comes out and then they see the Lord and they praise. Right? Could be.
So that's the next section where all the demigods that we talked about from goodness and false ego, right? Goodness and false ego, right? So we had all those Dig Devatas, right? Dig Devatas. So when they are manifested, they actually come like, okay, we have a purpose here. But first of all, we have no connection between ourselves. And we actually don't know how to do this. And hence they actually pray to the Lord that please enlighten us. Please give us directions. Please tell us how we can actually do what you have created us for. And the first section of the prayers actually talks about the glories of meditating on the lotus feet of the Lord. It's such a nice section. So next few verses is all 39 all the way to 43. These 5 verses just talk glories of taking shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. Right? This is one section of the entire Bhagavatam where you can say, okay, I want to meditate on the lotus feet, read these prayers. This is all about the lotus feet of the Lord. All these 5 verses, lotus feet. And then after that, who is qualified to take shelter of the lotus feet? And who is unqualified? That is the next section. So qualified people to take shelter of the lotus feet, unqualified people who cannot take shelter of the lotus feet. Right? Who is unqualified? We already saw the concept, mamaham, aham mameti. Right? They cannot, they are offensive, materialistic. But those who are qualified, they drink the nectar of Harikatha. Then you are qualified to take shelter. And then the last section, it talks of prayers. Or, the demigods offer their prayers for enlightenment, to direction, to Krishna. And then that is our last section. Okay. So we'll cover this next time, and then we'll actually move into chapter 6 also next time. So we'll cover this and move into chapter 6 in our next class. Okay. Okay. So we'll stop here. Thank you all so much. And yeah. Okay. So thank you all so much. Mantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So any final comments, questions, realizations before we end? Is this okay, the aspect of creation? Yeah.
Lord is so merciful that He has created all this for me, and also He has not left me alone. He is inside my heart too.
He's right next to me. He is the closest person to me. In spite of everything, he's right here. Who can be closer than Krishna? Atma, Paramatma. Right there. Very nice. Thank you. Yes, any final points? I mean, like, if you just consider outside the material world, the scientists spending so much time, energy, resources, how many people are trying to figure out how did this creation take place? And then they come up with theories, Big Bang theory. And the essence, like Chaitanya Charan Prabhu was explaining. Actually, see, if you really study the Big Bang theory, they say initially there was nothing. There's a black hole. Nothing. No energy, nothing. And out of that nothing, there was a blast. And then everything came. I mean, it sounds like out of nothing, everything came. And that's like their whole, finally they come up to the point that everything comes from an explosion of nothing. I mean, it's, that. So after all that energy, they come to that point. And see, in this last 2.5 hours, we have covered such a wonderful explanation. Who can explain in such a way? Starting from the Lord and how every element is created, earth, water, air, fire, ether, the demigods, the mind, the 10 senses, everything. It's so clear. I mean, it's like, all these scientists are like, have Shraddha, receive the mercy of Prabhupada and read this. Your life will transform. From knowing maybe this is this, maybe this theory, that theory, you'll come to that. No, now I know. This is creation. And once you read this, people may say so many things. So you can keep speculating for lifetimes after lifetime, but by mercy of Srila Prabhupada, by mercy of Srimad Bhagavatam, I know this is the way creation took place, right? And I know the cause of my existence here, and I know the solution to get out of this. That's why it says, what's that verse? Tasmin Vigyatam Sarva Eva Vigyatam Bhavati. I'm missing one word there, but it says a devotee knows everything. Right? Why does a devotee know everything? He knows why this material world is here, the purpose of this material world, why it is created. He knows how to live this world and how to get out of this world. Everything a devotee knows. And Krishna is right there. He'll reveal everything that needs to be known, need to be known to actually get back to him. So a devotee knows everything. So this is the mercy that we have received. We should be grateful to Srila Prabhupada that how amazingly he's explained all this, it's just fascinating knowledge. Okay? And our once we have received this, then we should not be misers. right? We should not be what's the word? Kripana, right? Kripana. Right. Should not be misers. Yeah. You should actually share this knowledge. So when we receive this knowledge, somehow by great fortune, we are receiving this, we should be fascinated. That is the depth of knowledge. Give it to others, give it to others. And the more we distribute Bhagavatam, more Bhagavatam will be pleased with us and reveal himself to us. Bhagavatam will reveal himself to us. Krishna will reveal himself to us. So, okay. Okay. Anything else? And let's stop here. Okay to this section? Right? Everyone? So please, you can. If there
Prabhu,
is,
please find any YouTube links or classes, that explains this part. We can hear it also. If you can find it, please share.
on this aspect of creation?
Yeah, this especially, especially that Mahatattva verse, which is like really Abhyakta plus Kala Chodita.
Yes, Kala Charita. Yeah. Yeah, I can see.
Gauranga Darshan Prabhu is in Mayapur, Prabhu.
Okay.
I just
Like-
met him.
Yeah.
He's giving class, so I don't know if he's giving class tomorrow. If I can find him, I can ask, record.
So on ISKCON Desire Tree, there are those lectures, right?
Hmm.
But it's not like, you have all those lectures, but not Gauranga Darshan Prabhu does not have for all the, at least it's not on the website for all the chapters. But let me see, just 1 minute. Let me see. So, Canto 3, Chapter 5. Actually, it is there. I'll send you a link from text 17 to text 50. Right, so that is this link. So I'll just post this link right now. So you can hear this Gauranga Darshan Prabhu's class. I'll post it on a WhatsApp link. So you can hear this. So it'll be really nice to hear it from him. That way, the conception will be like clear. And then, yeah, it will really help confirm, like, what do I say? Like make all these concepts like, firm in our mind. Okay, I'm posting a link right now. Okay, so thank you so much. Shri Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha Patitana Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Thank you all so much for joining and thank you for your association. Hare.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Hare
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu, for joining. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. It's so
It's a
wonderful.
really momentous work, Prabhu, you're doing to make people like us to understand something like this.
And it's Prabhupada's.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.